Welcome back into the Colorado Prep Show presented by Upswing. Dan Mormon, Doug Ottewell, and there's our guy, James Nokes. When you told me you were going to be remote, I half expected you to be on the Kings Deer driving range, getting some swings in. But it looks like you're working nice and safely from home. And I think he's having some audio issues. I don't know if James can hear us right now.
I expected him to be at a fine vineyard.
A fine vineyard. I was.
Now I'm hearing you. I'm not. There we go.
Yeah, I was hoping for the guy. I was hoping the Kings Deer driving range, that you were trying to get your game in shape as we're going to be hitting. I know at some point you and I will be getting out and chasing those white balls around. But James, how are you?
Dan, I can't hear you.
So it's my audio that's screwing everyone up.
Sorry.
It's your audio and your hat.
My audio and my hat.
No, I hear you, Doug.
See?
Doug, you're going to have to take over the show.
Right hat, and I got the right audio.
That's
Good morning, everybody. How we doing?
Outstanding. How was your weekend, James?
My weekend was terrific. Thank you. This weather's been it's been very good to us. Been very good to us.
well. Can you get me? You got me now, James?
I got nothing from Dan, but we're here to talk about Brooklyn.
We are here to talk about Brooklyn. Dougie, you know enough about the feature. I'm going to let you just run the interview while we troubleshoot everything. So,
sure. Well, I think, Dan, you kicked it off by saying, hey, this is a story. And, I've been the editor of the magazine for 23 plus years now. And, we're proud of a lot of things that we do. But I generally think there are times in every publishing calendar that kind of stick out as something you're like, hey, this is a story I'm going to remember. This is a story that I'm proud to run, whether I wrote it or not. It's just the story that you wrote on Brooklyn Gilhooly is one of those stories where, as an editor, it came back across my desk and I read it and I thought, now this is why we do this. So kind of with that as a backdrop, James, I'm going to let you kind of set the stage. Tell the 10,000 foot view, the Cliff Notes view of your story, and then talk a little bit about the setup, the behind the scenes, what went into it, because I think full 360. This is one of our best efforts.
Oh, well, that's too kind of you. Thanks for the opportunity. To kind of set the stage, I think Brooklyn is a supernova of potential. The experience I had with her is similar to the one you had reading it. When I left Regis after interviewing her dad, after meeting her friends and having lunch, I just felt like a better person. Like, it was a remarkable scene what the global program has done for people with some intellectual disabilities. And the experience they're having, it's literally, I was jealous. I wanted to go back to college and be part of it. Like, the interactions they had in the lunchroom, the way that athletes walked by and high-fived them or chatted with them. And some of the kids from the Global Unified Program went and sat with baseball players for lunch or soccer players for lunch and just hung out with them. So there's this massive influx of total inclusion in what they're doing. You've heard the expression, like, your heart is full. You leave there and your heart is full. It's spectacular what they're doing. Her dad is, the director of athletics there. You couldn't find a better champion for the cause either with Tommy. He is I understand where Brooklyn gets her high spirits from, her positive attitude. Much of it comes from him. And part of that story that I was fortunate enough to write, I was fortunate enough to meet the Gilhooly family. There's a scene I tried to paint, if you will, of her being a young kid at ski lessons and the ski instructor saying, just go over there and do whatever, and kind of ignoring her and thinking he's just going to get his couple $100 and as her brothers get better at skiing. And when her dad stops back to check in and she's not skiing, he's like, what do you mean she's not skiing? Get her out there. I expect her to do just what her brothers do. And intellectual disabilities aside, I feel as if it's a family that never treated her any different. You can do the same things your your brothers can do. You can do the same things that we did. You can have those same experiences. And now she's having them in college, which is so awesome. So the background, Doug, you asked, for a little bit of the technical stuff too. I spent an afternoon at Regis in their lunchroom, which is gorgeous. I had lunch, and I think back to I went to a junior college, a 4-year university, and then went to graduate school. And sitting in the quad with my friends, or going to the library to study, um, going out for lunch. This was the same experience that all these kids were having, and that is phenomenal to me. There was one, Doug, you've written these stories. Dan, you've written these stories before. You leave so much on the cutting room floor. Like, like, hey, you got 2,000 words, maybe 2,500 words. I could have gone 10,000 words. Like, there's so much that you leave behind. And one of those was one of the global students. We're all sitting there talking about sports. And he's like, hey, I get to be the scorekeeper. This kid Sebastian said, I get to be the scorekeeper for the baseball team. I'm like, oh, great. And he's like, yeah, but you know what you can't do in the press box? I'm like, no, what can't you do? He's like, there's no clapping. There's no cheering. You just have to keep score. And he gives me this rundown of all of his lists of responsibilities there. It was the coolest, the sweetest, one of the most fun things ever. And I could just picture me sitting there in graduate school or undergraduate school with my boys, having a cheeseburger or a Italian sub, or a cup of coffee in the morning over breakfast, and somebody having the same discussion. Hey, I was the announcer for the baseball game, but they told me no cheering. And the fact that kids with some intellectual disabilities get to have this experience, it's so cool. It's so fun. A week or two after writing the story, we were at the Coliseum for the photo shoot, and Brooklyn walks in, and she met me once. And I come trotting out of press row, and I see her walking in with her mom, and she throws her hands up just like she did when she said goodbye at the end of the story. As I say, she tosses her hand up and throws a wave and says, bye, guys. She puts her hand up and says, hey, James. And I'm like, you remember me? How awesome is that? And then she got to do that photo shoot, and I had to include some of that photo shoot in there because her and Brianna Crittenden, who was also featured in this month's magazine, to have the two of them side by side. Brooklyn is not as tall, she's maybe up to her chest, and to put their arms around each other, to jump right in like they were best friends. I mean, I think not only are they living their best life, but the magazine, Doug, as you mentioned, 23 years putting it out. I think you could be proud of what you found too, because those were two really spectacular daughters of Colorado that came together for just something that was absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely great point, and the fact that the interaction between them was really cool. You mentioned Tommy, and ironically, I learned as through the process of this story, Tommy and I played against each other in high school in soccer, and Tommy was one of the best soccer players that's ever come through the state. And I didn't connect those dots until we started doing the story. And you mentioned the skiing story and Tommy's insistence on, hey, you treat her like any other athlete. I want to reference another story that you conveyed through your article. I think a lot of people think unified sports is a great concept. It gets kids playing regardless of their ability levels. A lot of great interaction. It involves, not just unified athletes, but also varsity athletes kind of interacting. It's a great program. But one of the things that stood out in your story was that Brooklyn was actually a varsity letter winner, not in unified sports, at Denver East swimming. And I thought that spoke volumes of her competitiveness. It obviously speaks about Tommy and how he wants her to conduct herself, and the coaches around him. Talk a little bit about that story, because that to me was remarkable. Going in, I thought, okay, this is a unified athlete that has done some cool things or whatever. I had no idea that she was that capable and at that level at Denver East.
I think the key there is, yes, Tommy had high expectations for her. And he was also fair to Dave Quintana. He's been doing it for 18 years there, and they met beforehand. And I think there was a really great partnership there, because Dave put expectations out from the start. He said, here's the deal. She can do it. And I'm not saying this in a mean way, but essentially he said, she can do this totally fine, but I can't be a babysitter. Like, I have a team that I have to coach. If she's going to be a problem, then, obviously she can't. So of course, let's go try it out. She jumps in the pool. She participates. Mom and dad are sitting up on the second level of the aquatic center there, looking down, and Brooklyn's just a participant like anybody else. So Tommy had shared with me, he said, maybe I was worried she might get out of the pool and walk away. She's never done that, but you never know. And once she didn't do that, he never had to show up and practice again and watch her. Dave, I think, treated her just like everybody else, which is so important, is that he's like, look, if she's goofing around, you're going to swim with 50. Like, you're going to swim with just like the other kids. If you're splashing or messing around or talking when I'm talking, or, we're supposed to be getting through a drill, I'm going to punish you just like I did with the other kids. And she'd do that activity, which is just remarkable. Participating in JV meets, varsity meets, there's times where she would beat kids. She'd beat participants from other schools. She'd finish in front of them. And what more could you ask for there? This is a guy that set up the program. Davis set up a program with 11 swim league titles. So it's not like a fly by night. It's not like, well, we've got 3 kids, we'll finish out the 4th. The Angels are sitting there going, we're serious, man. We're not playing here. We're coming to, put some more pelts on the wall, if you will, when it comes to postseason, when it comes to league titles. And for her to be a part of it, yes, speaks to her family, speaks to what Dave has done there. And I think it speaks to her too, Brooklyn's expectations of herself that her family's instilled in her, the values, the hard work ethic. To see all those things happen, that's awesome. I mean, that's why I suppose that's why they do what they do, the Gilhooly family. And she just took to it, and she talked about swimming all the time. Her mom told me a story. They took swim lessons in the neighborhood. There was an instructor that had a pool, and this part kind of, didn't make the whole story either, but she started when she was 3 years old. It was a round pool that took up most of the backyard. They'd enter through a side gate, and the instructor said, bye, Nicole. And she's like, oh, you want me to stick around? She says, no, that's not how I do it. We're going to work together. We're going to be one-on-one, and we're going to have a great time. And mom comes back to pick her up, and she's diving for the pool rings, the little pool rings and the pool sticks. And she says, look what she can do. So I think we have come so far with the Global Unified Program, but just in the way that students with intellectual disabilities become an inclusive part of communities, of school districts. This is a story that's a champion for the success of everybody involved, for sure.
We're gonna try this one more time. You got me, James?
Doug, you're gonna have to translate what Dan said again. I'm sorry, I can't hear Dan at all. Dan, I don't know what's going on.
What he said, I don't think you're really gonna want to hear that. But I think I'll take a crack at guessing what Dan might have asked. But I think you kind of alluded to it with your last answer. After all said and done, and you wrote the story, you got to see how Brooklyn's family handled her situation, how coaches around her, both at East and Regis University, handled her, coached her, encouraged her, all those things. What was your biggest takeaway? Whether that's misconceptions of a unified program coming into it, or advice to other schools, parents, coaches when handling and dealing with unified athletes? Because my takeaway was, man, this is a really great thing, and this is a case that things are being done right. What were kind of the biggest takeaways and lessons that you learned from this?
I think it cements what you said, that things are being done correctly. I think in a previous career of mine as an athletic director, I would host the Shrine game, where we would go see the Shrine School, and those are kids with oftentimes severe intellectual disabilities. And I kind of remember thinking, this is terrific for them. Like, this is their Super Bowl, their NBA championship, their World Series. We'd play a basketball game against them. Some kids were in wheelchairs, like severely disabled, challenged. And to see this program and how far it's come, I still think that we're only scratching the surface. That's my professional opinion, is we're scratching the surface, because this is just at Regis. I think it is a program that can be extended. This can be at multiple universities. This could be, you and I both know, the more money you kind of throw at something, the better it could be. So Michelle C. Witten, the CEO of the Global Foundation, the founder of it, I think is designing this program. It's in the oven now and it's baking, but she's not done with the pie. She wants to take it out and have it be the greatest thing ever, to use an analogy there. She wants to see it spread to other schools. She's mentioned that Gonzaga has contacted her. Loyola Marymount has contacted her, but she's not ready to put it out yet until it's very measurable and everything in there can be quantified as legitimate and working. And here's the program, go with it, almost like franchising it. And I think that is that next step. I'd love to see more federal dollars pour into it, because I think there are a lot of kids out there that can have this experience. I train as a personal trainer. There's a woman I train who has a child with Down syndrome, and she had no idea about this program. And so I said, man, this is something that should be really, the virtues of it should be extolled to a greater extent. And I'd love to see, college opportunities, collegiate opportunities, athletic opportunities, because there's kids out there that need this. And I think that's the next step, is that this isn't even the foundation. The pie is in the oven, it's cooking, they're going to take it out and they're going to see what it's like. And then they're going to build the foundation, because it's still in its infancy. The first seniors are graduating this year from the program. So the room for growth is exponential. I'd love to see federal dollars get behind it. I'd love to see more studies occur about what success looks like. I think the kids that graduate from the program, there was one story Michelle told me where they were going to get jobs post-college, and they were doing these internships at a hotel. And it's like, look, we don't want the kids to just stand there and talk. We want them to actually do work. So what can they do? Probably not a good idea to put them on the big iron press thing that folds down, that's like 500 degrees, that could burn their arms off. That might not be a good idea, but what else can we do? So like, to have a list of opportunities post certificate program, wow. We don't even have a foundation in place. I think there's so much room for growth with this.
Yeah, great stuff, James. Again, if people haven't read the story, it's available in the new issue of Mile High Sports, which can be found, bars, newsstands, waiting rooms all over the city. Also on milehighsports.com and coloradopreps.com. This is a story we wanted as many places as we could get it. So make sure you're going to read James's work anywhere and everywhere. James, in retrospect, I'm not so sure that this conversation without Dan Mormon, wasn't more enjoyable. I mean, you and I have spent a lot of time talking to Dan Mormon. He's a nice guy. I think this worked better because, he wasn't interjecting, wearing insulting hats to our guests. All the things that Dan can do to derail a show. This was pleasant. I really appreciate the opportunity, not just with you, but for Dan and having technical issues.
Well, I think we proved that we could pull it off on our own.
I think so.
Yeah, we're okay at this.
That's right. All kidding aside, James, great having you on. Fantastic job on the story. I can't say it enough. This is one of those stories we're proud of. It's the reason that we do what we do. And I really do hope, especially after people got a chance to hear your background on the story, go check out the story, read it, pass it around, tell others. It's these kind of things that, like you said, this is the first step. This is the start of a foundation of some great things to go with the unified program. And the folks at Global are just doing an outstanding job. And I thank you for kind of relaying that message to our audience. And we'll see you here down the road. I know you and Dan are working on a lot of stuff with spring sports championships coming right around the corner. So I'm sure we'll be having you on here soon. We are going to take a quick break, pay some bills, visit our great advertisers. We'll come back, and maybe if our audience is lucky, they can hear Dan Mormon, lucky or unlucky, I'm not really sure. But he will be back to round out the show. We'll be right back on this Colorado Preps.